G'day guys, Fitcho here, and welcome to another Classic Cars video here on F1 2018, and today we are moving into the 1980s with the McLaren MP4 1B, driven by John Watson and Niki Lauda, who is returning to the sport after a 2-year absence. Now, obviously this car competed in the 1982 season. If you don't know much about the season, it was absolutely hectic. 11 different race winners in, I believe it was 16 races. No driver winning more than 2 races in the entire year. You had the Fisa and Foca, I think that's the names, a rivalry going on where I think it was the San Marino Grand Prix, one of those organizations, all their cars boycotted the race and you only had like half the grid. Absolutely mental, and the title ended up going to, I believe it was, Keke Rosberg, and the constructors to Ferrari, although Renault were the favorite and got 11 pole positions, but they had absolutely woeful reliability. It was an absolutely mental season in 1982, and John Watson won 2 races, and Niki Lauda also won 2 races in this car. Those being at Long Beach, Detroit, Zolder, and Silverstone. So Silverstone's the only track we have that this car did win it, so that is where we are going to be driving it at. But a little bit about the car itself. I've talked about the season and some of the chaos, but this car, the McLaren MP4, the initial version that came in 1981, was the first Formula 1 car to have a carbon fiber monocoque. Of course, something that we do see nowadays in every Formula 1 car and in most open seat series nowadays. So this is essentially the first car to have a carbon monocoque, although this is the second iteration of that car. Of course, it wasn't a brand new car as every year like it is nowadays in Formula 1. Also, this marked the start of the Ron Dennis era at McLaren. Of course, McLaren merging with Ron Dennis's Project 4 Formula 2 team in 1981, and then they started naming the cars the McLaren MP4s, which stand for McLaren Marlboro Project 4. Of course, Marlboro being the main sponsor for McLaren, with that famous red and white livery that we've seen for over a decade on those McLarens throughout the 80s and the early 90s. So that's where the name came from, and we saw that era come up right till the end of, I think it was 2016, where McLaren changed the car naming system to the MCL when we got to the 2017 car. Now quickly, before we do head out on track, if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure you do leave a like on it, and if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on so you know when every one of my F1 2018 videos go live. Without further ado, let's hit the track. Here we go, the McLaren MP4 1B at Silverstone through Stowe. We go heading down to the last few corners back to the H pattern for this car, and through the final couple of corners we do go up into third, into fourth as we open up through the final corner to start this flying lap. Does this car have 6 gears? It does indeed, as we head down towards the first corner. Actually, I took a fairly big lift there, where I don't think I had to take a bigger lift as I did now into the new section of the circuit. I don't really like this part of the track, the back end getting away from me a little bit now in to the hairpin. Such a tricky corner. I do find that is now up into third, fourth, on to the Wellington Straight. We going down towards Brooklands and Luffield. And I was actually doing a bit of research. This was the start of the turbo era in Formula 1. However, this car did not have a turbo. But for the very next season, 1983, they went and stuck, I believe it was a Peugeot turbo in the back of this, whereas this was powered possibly by a Ford Cosworth engine. I can't remember exactly. I could be way wrong on that. I'm just going off memory as we go on to the Old Pit Straight through Woodcote and heading down towards Copse. How much speed can I take through Copse? Kick it down into 5th. I can probably take a bit more than I did on that lap, and now up to Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel. These corners are absolutely legendary. Down maybe to 4th, into the left hand, now down into 3rd, and now we pick back up on the power, on to the Hangar Straight we go, and now the long run down to Stowe. Another very, very quick corner, and this car is actually a fair bit of fun to drive. It has a fair bit of downforce. It's got more grip than there we go. Yep, there we go. Into a gear. That is one thing I do find. Ooh, big slide. That's one thing I do find on this game. The clutch isn't that great, and I find myself having missed shifts more often than I normally do in any other sim I do play on. But through the last couple of corners, we go up into third, fourth, and across the line we go now. And we set a 148.6. I have no idea what that is like, but now I'm going to shut up, do a little bit of practice in this car, and come back to you guys with a proper hot lap. And there we go, that is a lap of the Silverstone circuit in the McLaren MP4 1B. And it's a bit crazy, turn 1 is flat out and comps is close to flat out in this car. Absolutely bonkers how much downforce these cars actually did produce in the 80s. I believe this is still a ground effect car. I didn't actually check that. I think it is though in 82, not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure the ground effect cars lasted till the mid 80s. But nonetheless, that will do it for today's episode. Next time out, we're heading to a selection, back into the selection of cars that we visited on F1 2017. But that is not going to stop us visiting them again. Yes, we do catch it, but I'm just throwing this car about a little bit too much here. We're heading to the legendary McLaren MP44 from 1988, one of the greatest cars in Formula 1 history. I absolutely love it as a McLaren fan. That car is pretty fucking awesome in my opinion. And you can see just how much speed this car can carry through comps. Obviously not quite hitting the same speeds as F1 cars nowadays, but thinking this is from the 80s and only about 15 years after wings became a thing in Formula 1, if that is absolutely mental. But that's going to do it for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you do leave a like. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on so you know when every one of my F1 2018 classic car videos go live, along with all my other F1 2018 content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.